You're very welcome to the Woman to Woman show here on Confident Women Ireland's YouTube channel with me, Roisin Ni Chleirigh. Tracy Byrne O'Donovan, owner of Tracy at the Studio, as a Pilates and strength and conditioner instructor, we will be discussing the importance of exercise movement for women over 50s, 60s, 70s, and older. Tracy, you're very, very welcome back to the Woman to Woman show here on Confident Women Ireland.
Thanks so much, Roisin, for having me. It's great to be here and to share this wonderful information.
Yes, Tracy, we've been talking about this for a long time, but we just couldn't get diaries or anything to match. Tracy, I'm really curious and interested because we were talking the other day on the phone, and I was saying that I wanted to do a program about women, the over 55s, post-menopause, going into the 60s and 70s and 80s. And you said, Roshan, that's exactly who my clients are. So it's funny how synergy works together.
Yeah, no, it is. And I work with a lot of people in those age groups, you know, and it's just so important to keep the body moving. As we move on in life, it's, more important than ever.
And I know because I'm 58. I just turned 58 the other day. And I've,
Happy
thank
birthday.
you, I've even realized that my mind is not 58, but my body is telling me, you know what, you can't do things as fast. You've got to be more careful, especially with the body. The body's slowing down. We've gone through the perimenopause, the menopause, the postmenopause. The body isn't as nimble as it was maybe when we're in our 50s, early 50s or late 40s. So you tell us about the importance of movement, exercise, and strengthening and conditioning the body, especially for my age group and into the 60s, 70s, and possibly the 80s as well.
So whether you're like a regular exerciser or athlete or involved in sports, or whether you're not, you're just a social exerciser, which is fantastic, or even someone who's just starting off an exercise, movement is so important as
Yeah.
we kind of channel through these different kind of stages in our lives. Sometimes we need to listen to the body a little bit more, like the mind might be thinking something else, or even the heart might want, you might be so passionate about something, but maybe you're limited with an injury, or maybe you're struggling to keep up or to work at an intensity that you might have worked at before. So in general, exercise is so important on a daily basis, even just for functional movement. In relation to like exercising specifically, trying to get roughly 3 sessions of exercise in a week. So you're talking about maybe an hour to 45 minutes if you can. But anything less than that is important as well. Like, so say if you can only fit in half an hour 3 times a week, that's just as worthwhile. Okay, you need to factor it in because the benefits are huge. It's like if we think of like walking, for instance, we're using our heart and our lungs. So we're taking in that oxygen. So really important muscle, the heart. So by walking, by running, by cycling, by swimming, whatever it may be that you're bringing in that exercise, that oxygen. So it's cardio respiratory movement. It really increases the function of the heart and lungs. So which in turn can even decrease metabolism, metabolic risks that are associated with menopause and beyond. Also helping the body because the estrogen has reduced as we get a little bit older. So keeping up our exercise will help the heart and lungs. And then also controlling weight. A lot of people get a little bit fixated on, they're putting on weight. Maybe they hadn't had weight before. Maybe they find they don't have the energy levels to exercise the way that they had, previously. So, there's like a vicious circle. But if you maintain exercise, continue to exercise on a regular basis, so there's 3 times a week if you can, you'll help maintain body weight as well. And also eating the right foods, it goes as a package, that you're eating the right foods, making sure that you're staying hydrated, and that in turn and in conjunction with exercise will help also. So that's just in relation to weight management.
Yes, and also the exercise is also as well, it's about with exercise, movement, and strengthening and balancing also helps with our balance, and it keeps our joints moist as well, and it keeps the blood flowing through our joints and might help prevent slips and falls.
So while you're exercising, of course, you're increasing the heart rate around the body. So you're getting that nice blood flow into the areas of the body that you want to move and want to work. Um, the joints, so your main joints of the body, so like our hips, our knees, the shoulders, the back, the ankles, really, really important. So, while keeping moving, we're kind of incorporating that production and movement of synovial fluid in the joints, which is, really good for our mobility. Also strength work. So working the large muscle groups and the muscles around particular joints can help stabilize those joints. And by focusing on strength exercises, we're also increasing our bone mass, which is really important, especially in women as we get older, because the decrease in estrogen really affects the bone health. So strength work, there'll be, there's a lot of stuff out there online or kind of just in conversations about strength work, what is it, resistance training. So it's lifting something that's relatively heavier, so you're performing a resistance movement. So resistance exercises can be body weight exercises, so that you're lifting your body weight. So if you think of a plank, if you think of a push-up, and then weights exercises, so you're actively using a weight, whether it's like a kettlebell,
Yes.
or whether it's a dumbbell, so they all add resistance, and working on specific exercises that you would maybe do in a class, or if you're with the personal trainer, or if you're in a gym. So these would be specific exercises that you would do, which are really, really important. And then also your impact movement, like your walking, your jog, your skipping. These would all have a certain amount of weight bearing properties, because you are using the body weight. So it's really important to keep up those as well.
Talk to me about the kettlebells. Until recently, I was afraid of weights.
Oh no.
I was.
It's
I was like, oh no. But they're very important, aren't they, for the balance and so weight bearing, especially for the bone health and muscle health.
Oh, so important. And we need to be lifting like a little heavy. So, like if you're finding a movement really easy and you're lifting a 1 kilogram weight, you need to bring it up. So ideally, we should be aiming like for our 3, our 4, our 5 kilos, even upwards, depending on your own ability and what you can sustain. So normally, if you're doing a series of exercises, you'll want to do roughly 10 repetitions.
Right.
So you should be able to do 8 of those fairly comfortably, but then when you're getting to the last 2, they should be a little bit harder. So that means that you're lifting a weight, that's suitable for you to increase, that bone mass, and also to strengthen the muscles. And then as you progress, you'll eventually be lifting maybe a little bit heavier, or you might be doing maybe an extra set. So there's like a taboo, a lot of people think, oh, if I lift heavy weights, I'm going to really bulk up.
Yeah.
So I don't, not necessarily, because yes, our muscles are going to change shape. They may get a little bit bigger, but you'd want to be lifting really heavy weights, like, I mean, really heavy, like even competing to really kind of bulk up, as what people say. So, general classes, your general exercise, no, you're not. But just making sure that you are lifting a weight that's heavy enough, that it's not just 1 kilos and you're really easy, that's not going to benefit you enough. So we need to lift a little bit heavier. Yeah.
And it's really important to get the
And not to
bio.
be afraid of it.
Yes. And not be afraid of it, to embrace it, and knowing that there's a purpose and intention for doing the weights as we get older, and knowing the right biomechanics, the right way to lift and use the weights is important.
Yeah, it's really important that you're doing it correctly, because if you're not performing the exercises correctly, that's when injury can occur. And then injury sets you back,
Yeah.
so it's a vicious circle also. But just to be, if you are starting a new exercise program or you are currently in an exercise program, just making sure that you are performing the exercises correctly, that you're being instructed correctly, by your instructor, your personal trainer, or whoever the staff member is of the gym that you're doing. Or if you're following a program online, that it's reputable as well. That you are performing them controlled, slow, with the right breathing, and also with the right equipment as well. And if you don't have any equipment, you can still use like bottles of water, you know, tins of beans. I know they're quite light, and also your body weight. So you can adapt, to suit where you are if you don't have access to a gym. And then also weights are relatively available. Like Aldi sell them, Lidl sell them, Elvery's, lifestyle. It's easy to get, weights as well. It's easy for home use, which are available in lots of places.
Tracy, you do online classes. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on and promote them, especially which I think are brilliant, especially for women who maybe might not get the time to go out and their diary or their schedules don't suit the ones during the day, or they can't get out or go to them. But so we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But what I'd also like to talk about is how to maintain sort of lifting weights or movement or exercise during injury, if you have an injury, not to be afraid to go and actually explore using weights and exercise and movements.
Yeah, so if for example you are injured, just thinking of the area of the body that may be injured, that you can still exercise the other parts of the body.
Mhm.
Yeah, your program or your routine will be slightly different. Like I'm injured at the moment, I've injured my knee, so I'm trying to adapt my exercise routine around that, so I can still do all my upper body work. I can take out the impact with the lower body, even going on the stationary bike. So I can still do that. So you just need to, it doesn't mean that you stop altogether.
Yeah.
And also, if you are attending a physio, they're going to give you exercises to do. But it's really important that we keep moving, because movement is key. Even if you've had to step back a bit, it is still key. The saying is motion is lotion. So keeping the joints moving, keeping the heart active, incorporating the heart and lungs, so that you're really working to the best that you can. And also, you mentioned balance earlier, Roisin. Like, balance is so important, and it's one of the things that is affected as we get older. And it's something to kind of focus on. Even during the day. Cleaning your teeth, standing on one leg, changing to the other leg. Um, in the kitchen, in the house, wherever you are, focusing on little balance movements, trying to bring in a little boot movement with balance, because if we can keep our balance, it'll help reduce falls as well. Because falls are like really high, especially as we get on. You hear of a fall nearly every day, or someone maybe has fallen and they've broken their wrist or their hip or whatever. So it's just to be mindful to focus on balance, and bring it into your exercise routine. Balancing on one leg, maybe walking a little bit and then stopping really fast, so that you get your balance, walk again, stop, making things, adding bits of variety and bringing in that balance element.
And also, like, I have a injury, but I fell and damaged my vertebrae in my neck and my lower back, and nerve damage all the way down my right side. However, since I started going to a personal trainer and doing the weights, my body has become much more supple and much more stronger because of the exercises that she's been giving me. And as I said in the intro, I was afraid of weights. I went, no, no, not do that. I can't do that. Well, the kettlebell swings I love, and I'm noticing they are actually helping my whole sort of like post-injury and rehabilitation with my back, and strengthen my core muscles in my back. That strengthens the vertebrae.
Yeah, like, exercise is key, especially people with back issues. using those muscles around the back, using our extensor muscles as well, and if you're being prescribed specific exercises from your personal trainer or your physio and making sure that you do them, the body will only benefit. So like even if you've got a shoulder injury, a knee injury, thinking of those muscles that are around the joint and exercising and specifically working on them, it's only going to strengthen the area around the joint, and also benefiting you in the long run. But it's keep the consistency of exercise. So keeping it consistent so that you're exercising your 2 to 3 times every week, and that you factor it into your everyday life. And not only benefiting kind of the strength of the body, but also your stress levels. So with exercise, with movement, the release of those lovely feel good endorphins, helping people deal with stress, enjoying things a little bit more, energy is increased, mood levels are improved. So it's got a whole range of benefits. And getting outside is really, really important as well. So, and we have this beautiful weather at the moment.
I
So
know.
if you're able to get outside,
Beautiful.
yeah, getting in nature, getting in that nice fresh air, and really looking at what's around you, it's so important. And also then the sunlight for vitamin D for our bones. So there's lots of factors in relation to movement, exercise, and adding in that outside element as well. And if you can't get outside, don't panic. You're still focusing on how important exercise is. And literally keeping it up. And it's never too late to start. Never too late to start moving. Never too late to start with your strength program, even if you've never done any type of work like that before. But it's finding somebody that will work with you and your levels, and not prescribing, say, a generic program, or all of a sudden you decide to go out and run 10K, when the body's not ready. You have to start kind of realistically where you are, and then building from there.
And what I love about exercise too is the fact that I'm in that present moment. I'm breathing. So exercise, as you mentioned earlier, the heart and the lungs, you're actually strengthening the heart and the lungs because you're in that present moment and you're connecting your breath to your heart and lungs and to the exercise that you're doing.
Yeah, so yeah, breathing is really important. So, and also that mind body connection, as you say. So by exercising, you kind of, it's a switch off as well, because you have to focus on your movement, your breath. Am I breathing too fast? Am I breathing too slow? And and that nice kind of steady state for you. And then it just brings you back to center, which is really important. And that's where how moods can be improved, because we are focusing on the body, we're taking that time. And even specific exercises and movements, like for example pilates, really focusing on the movement. So you have to concentrate on your body, you have to concentrate on your breathing, so it's just a whole package really, in relation to exercise. And also the initial steps for somebody to start exercising can be really difficult, for someone who is in a busy lifestyle, or maybe has just come out of injury, or maybe just hasn't been feeling well lately. That initial step to start exercise can be really difficult, but once you take that step and you incorporate it into your routine, the benefits are huge. And then also someone who's a regular exerciser, you know, increasing their fitness levels, increasing their strength. Maybe they'll have, improving their flexibility, they'll have a higher range of movements. And then if they ever had to go through any type of procedure, that they'll be a little bit stronger because their body is strong. So recovery is quicker and more effective if the body is fit and healthy.
And
Yeah.
that's really important because the body's fit and healthy, the mind's fit and healthy. And if the body's fit and healthy too, you're not susceptible. It improves the immune system. So you're not susceptible to all the viruses or anything else that you might pick up, like the colds, the flus, or the tummy bugs, because the immune system is a lot stronger through movement and exercise.
Yeah, and you'll bounce back a little bit
Yeah.
quicker. you know, because you can't avoid, like, if there's a tummy bug in the house, you may not avoid it. But yeah, but you bounce back a little bit quicker. You know, you're able to kind of pick yourself up. The energy levels may return a little bit quicker, you know, which is great. And also, talking about exercise and movement, we don't mean moving all the time. We don't mean, oh God, I have to exercise like 5 days a week. You know, it's finding the balance that works within your routine, within your lifestyle, and also bringing in your rest periods. So getting enough sleep, allowing the body to recover and prepare for the next day, making sure that you're getting enough rest on a daily basis, which is really important, you know, for the body to recharge, for the mind to kind of reset again for the next day, so that you can deal with any challenges that come up. But ideally, if you can get 2 to 3 exercise sessions, focused exercise sessions per week, it's really essential. Yeah, planning for that.
Yeah, you talk about relaxation. And when we do that exercise, it actually just relaxes us and it clears our mind and declutters our mind of anything. And that gives that body that, as we mentioned earlier, that feel-good factor and helps with relaxation, outside exercise, and also helps with better sleeping patterns.
Oh yes, like even if you can get 5 minutes, it can just be 5 minutes. Just kind of pause, stop, take a few breaths, even close the eyes. Even if you're sitting at your desk, maybe just take a few breaths, you know, switching off totally for those 5 minutes. You know, it's huge. And bringing in that even on a daily basis is really beneficial. And then having a really good sleep routine,
That
you know, give trying to get your, you know, it's different for everyone. Some people can function on 6 hours sleep. Some people need 8 hours sleep. So depending on what works for you, but making sure that you're getting kind of good sleep during those hours. Yeah.
the good quality sleep. The,
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely good quality sleep.
and
And with
all,
exercising, you will also, you know, it can assist that as well, because you'll have worked the body, and yeah, you know, you may get a better sleep, you know, on the days that you have your exercise routine.
and two, it's not like everybody should go out and go to the gym and hit the treadmill running, as they say, pardon the pun. But it's also about it's starting off gradually and slowly at your own pace, that the pace that you're at right now.
At the moment, yeah, yeah, no, that's very true. Not jumping kind of so many kilometers ahead of yourself. But even everyday things like maybe using the stairs instead of the escalator or the lift if you can. Maybe parking a little bit further away from where you're going to go if you can. Maybe you don't need to bring the car. Like if you're going somewhere locally, you might be able to walk there instead. So it's bringing in little things into everyday stuff that are kind of additional to your exercise, your specific exercise, you know, are really important as well.
And also, it's back to that if you are recovering from injury or a procedure or an operation, that you don't have to go to the gym. You can do yoga and exercises from the chair. So you don't, or even if you want to go out and have it in the fresh air, you could just go out to the garden and just do little things in the garden or in your chair.
Oh yeah, you can do, like, I teach a couple of classes where with older adults. So a lot of the exercises are on the chair. They prefer not to go down on the floor. So we do a lot of the movements on the chair, and they're really beneficial, you know, even improving posture in a seated position, you know, really straightening the core, focusing on posture, bringing in movements. Heart rate can still go up because a lot of people think, oh, sure, you're not really doing anything when you're in the chair. But if you are doing specific movements, you know, you can make it into an exercise routine. Ideally, we would like everyone to be able to go down to the floor as well, because if you do fall, you need to be able to get back up again, or have that ability to get back up, you know, even if it's halfway up. So we need that, you know, that strength. So it's important that you practice movements on the ground as well, but all exercises, you know, can be done in a chair, you know, even using your weights in the chair as well. You know, it can be seen as a tool as opposed to, you know, as a negative. Some people will see it as a negative. Oh God, I have to do my exercise in the chair. But it can be seen as a positive as well, that you're still able to practice your movements.
And that's important
Yeah.
because even
And
movement is also about getting that blood flowing, the oxygen and the blood flowing to all the organs and all the cells and all the muscles and bones within the body.
yeah, like circulation is really important. And it's one thing that can, circulation can reduce, as we get a little bit older. And then if we're in a sedentary job, we're sitting for longer. If you're driving, you're sitting for longer. So there isn't that circulation. So by incorporating movement, we are increasing the blood flow. The heart is working a little bit harder. That oxygenated blood is being, pumped around, which is essential. So definitely coordinate circulation. Yes, coordination, that my next word. It really, really improves with movement. So you're thinking of your brain health as well. So thinking of you're using the brain. So if we're working with the right and the left side, if we're working opposites, you're bringing in that brain health as well. You have to think of coordinating movement. And you'll be amazed the amount of people that struggle with, maybe using the right and the left at the same time, like if you're lifting the right arm and lifting the left leg, how difficult that can be. Whereas someone else might just take it for granted. So it's brain health is incorporated in exercise, because even if you're increasing your pace, you have to think about your pace. When you're doing your weights exercise, you have to think about the movements. You might be learning a new exercise. So it's all, the brain, the heart, the lungs, the bones, all benefit from exercise. And even if you're an avid exerciser, because some people will think, oh, but I exercise all the time or I exercise regularly, that's fantastic. But just to make sure that you're progressing your exercise as well, that you're not just doing the same all the time, and that you are bringing in those little bit of challenges to the body, which will benefit you.
It's like that too. It's like I know when I'm doing my exercises and I'm doing the body coordination that I may be doing holding the weight and doing holding the weight up there, but I'm balancing on the other knee. So if
Yeah.
I'm using my right hand for the weights, I'm leaning on my left knee. So it's that body. And if I'm using my left arm for the weight, I'm balancing on my right knee. And that is too. It's like okay, and you have to really think about that body, the brain health, and that body health, and that coordination.
Yeah, it's really important and makes you think about the movement and really focus.
Yes.
But that can also help with, if all of a sudden you had to maybe run to catch the bus, or you had a little wobble and you need to rebalance yourself, your coordination is, plays a factor there as well, because you're able to react,
Yes.
and the body's able to adjust quite quickly. So coordination is really improves with the exercise, and then specific movements can be used to work on coordination. Like I would use a lot of movement, like lateral movements, going with the right arm, left leg, bringing in forward movement and backward movement, because we don't walk backwards.
No.
So by challenging ourselves by doing even backward movements, like I would have a group where every now and then, in the circuit, they'd have to walk backwards, maybe the length or the width of the space that we're in. And also that can increase confidence, because you're moving backwards, you might have been really nervous of it, and then the next time you do it, oh yeah, I'm able to, I'm a little bit more confident now with this. So bringing in all different types of movement, different directional change, improves coordination as well. Yeah.
And it also helps with our cognitive brain health and mindset because it's really keeping us functional with the cognitively and with the mindset and the body and that alignment with the mind body that we mentioned earlier on.
Yes, and especially with a variety of movements,
Yeah.
because you're thinking of the movement, you're feeling the benefit of it, and also you're a little bit more alert. So even
Yeah.
after exercise, you're a little bit more alert, and you may be able to manage, like that, coming back to kind of reduce stress. You may be able to manage, certain tasks that you need to do that day. Um, so that with the brain health and being able, even remembering things and how to do things, how to do an exercise. And, it just makes you a little bit more alert, a little bit more assertive as well. And with that increased confidence, then you're a little bit more, I suppose able, or you might feel, oh yeah, I can manage that, whereas maybe a few weeks ago you mightn't have even tried.
That would have been
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah,
I-
yeah. So it's a whole
yeah.
education thing as well. It's re-educating ourselves on how important strength work is, cardiovascular exercises, and movement, flexibility, mobility, how important they are, um, on a daily basis and with your specific sessions. And even looking at your the type of job you have, if you find you're at a desk a lot of the time, it's getting those movement breaks in. If you're driving, maybe breaking up your journey, bringing in a little bit of movement, marching around the car park, and who cares who's looking at you? You're getting in your movement and you're looking after your health,
And
which is vital.
then when you think an awful lot of maybe a lot of women who were very active, doing an awful lot of triathlons and marathons, and then they get hit the perimenopause and the menopause and they keep going. Then they go postmenopause and the body isn't really able to keep up with that sort of impact exercise, and fast exercise is what they were. So it's about really managing that transition from being very active to actually connecting with the body and listening to the body as the body is slowing down.
Yeah, so I would probably be in that category. I don't do triathlons, but being really, really active, really, sporty, playing basketball, doing different things, and now finding that maybe I can't do it at that intensity that I did before. And for us, it can be quite difficult to accept, because mentally we want to do X, Y, and Z, and maybe the body is kind of like, well, I can't sprint that fast, or the speed that you want me to sprint today. I may not be able to do those squat thrusts, the intensity that you want me to do today. Um, so it's looking at maybe changing the routine around, so to suit how you feel on the day. So if you need to step back a bit, if you need to reduce the intensity, that's perfectly fine. We can beat ourselves up over it, saying, oh my God, I can't do this, I can't do that. Like I did maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
But that's okay. We have to appreciate that there are changes happening. Hormone levels are fluctuating, so they have an impact on our movement, on our energy levels, but we still can keep exercising, we can still keep moving. It's just we may need to change things around a little bit, and also listening to the body. Different weeks you'll be at a different energy level. You can still train, you can still train for your triathlon if that's what you're aiming for, but just looking at your recovery, in between. How did you feel after the last training session? And just adjusting things, and also looking at your diet, your food intake as well, is really, really important, and making sure that we are getting enough, of our carbohydrates and of our protein, that we need a little bit extra protein at this time because of, with the bone density, and also maybe muscle wastage slightly. So it's like a package, so that we need to make sure that we're eating properly as well, and especially those women who are training and maybe want to do a marathon, or want to do that triathlon, or want to do a decent swim, or play hockey or whatever it is, or go for a decent cycle, or to enter an event. You just have to kind of prepare the body, and you can still train, yeah, but just slightly different.
And then we're going through the transition where I'm 58. And I've even said, my son, I had lunch with my son the other day, and I said, you do realize I'm nearly 60. I'm mummy. She's like, you're not nearly 60. You don't act. And I go, but, I'm
Not at all.
trying my body, my body's slowing down. I'm not as active. I'm not as nimble and fit. I don't have the energy that I had maybe when he was young. He still has me as this woman where I was, able to do anything and everything. But it's also that where you're hitting your 60s, you and then you come out of that postmenopause, in that postmenopause stage in the 60s, you actually have more you regain that vitality and that energy, but you do different exercises. And it's just that is a lovely thing to do. And it's all, and it's a bit of a stigma. Oh, you hit 60s, but a lot of women in their 60s and 70s are very active.
the two of the main classes that I would teach my older adult, it's not a Pilates class, it would be a circuit training class or a strength and conditioning class. So ranging from 55 right up to 80s, and doing weights, moving, concentrating on exercise for, an hour of a class. And it's so beneficial, no matter what age. So, but it's just finding the right exercise, finding the right kind of, I suppose, class if you wanted to go to a class for you. And our family members, and friends, when they're used to seeing us flying around, it can be hard for them to kind of even accept, oh, maybe you can't run as fast as you did 2 years ago. And also for ourselves, just kind of adjusting as well without stopping. So there's lots of things that we have to take into consideration. But the main thing is that you can still exercise, you can still move, you can change things around, you can still enter an event if you want enter an event, you can still just enjoy your movement, and do it socially as well. You don't have to be this competitive athlete.
What brings me on to my next question too is, I think exercise, especially for women from 60s and 70s into the 80s, it can also a great combination of incorporating exercise and a social life as well, and being social.
Oh yeah, it's so social. Like you meet up with a group of people that are all there for the same reason, want to enjoy it, want to move, want to feel good, want to have increased energy. And then you're making friends. You may meet new people, and your regular friends could be going to the same class or same walking group, whatever it is. And then afterwards, maybe there might be going for a coffee, maybe afterwards, or even just that chat afterwards before you go home back to your job or whatever it is that you're doing. So yeah, it's a huge social factor, is just huge. I really see it. And people might not have, like, over the Easter holidays, for example, a lot of people are doing stuff with their families.
Yeah.
And then when you come back to your class, you may haven't seen, the main group of the class maybe for about 2 weeks, and everyone's full of chat. Oh, how was your Easter? How was this? How was that? So it's a real social element. And then very supportive. Like if somebody's struggling with even a movement, or everyone supports each other as well. And you'll find that when you go to a class of people that are similar, similar likes to yourself, the social element is really, really important. It's so important. Yeah.
And exercise, I think, and movement for women over 60, it also helps them enjoy their grandchildren. You've still got that flexibility, and being able to be nimble to lift up your grandchildren and play with your grandchildren, and do different things and activities with your grandchildren.
Yeah, because you want to have that energy,
Yeah.
and a lot of, like, I even see with my own mum, for example, like I might need her to, if to come and be at our house to mind the kids, if needed. And there's a lot of people that are like that. Maybe their older children are working and they might be stuck for childcare, or they might want to go away. So you want to have energy levels to be able to help out and to enjoy, the grandchildren as well. So that's where your regular exercise and your movement and your strength, can adds to your life, and your vitality. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So important. Like in one of the classes that I teach, there's a lady, she's in her 80s, and she's absolutely amazing, has always been active. Who recently had a stroke about a year ago, is back to class. She's up and down off the mat, does what she can, which is really important. So that's another element. You do what you can, and forget about everyone else in the room. Like if someone else is, going hell for leather, that you're going your pace. And comes every week and is so disciplined in relation to her own movement. And her recovery was so quick. It's just, it's amazing, really. So exercise and movement, and also that social element, keeping contact with your friends, is really important. It's a kind of sense of community is really important, as because our friend group, our friends, our group of friends can get smaller as we get older. People have different things and different things in their lives, but it's just kind of maintaining the contact as best as possible. And then when you're going to a class, you have that sense of community, because you may be living on your own. Like my mom's living on her own. So she would be really active. She's involved in a walking group. She goes to an exercise class. She goes to social prescribing, and she's really involved in community things, like through a sports partnership. And she's up and out every day because she has purpose to go and meet certain people, feeling good after her exercise and getting that recharge and that sense of belonging in community. Yeah, it's really important.
And also it's that, I think too when women over 60, because I'm nearly that age now, so I'm thinking, okay, well, I need to prepare. But it's also a sense where, an awful lot of women over the age of 60, they are sort of sidelined by society. So it's always good to have that community and that purpose as well. And an awful lot of women from over 60s, they're only hitting their prime in many cases. And there's an awful lot to give back. And there's also a lot to contribute to society. So maintaining that movement is maintaining your health and wellness as well.
Oh yes, because that your general health and wellness, and also, your brain health, and you can bring different experiences then within community and education, and to community as well. But there's also we've to move away from the stigma of numbers and ages. Yes, it's reality. We are, as you every year from the day we're born, we're getting that little bit older. We see it from a baby who's crawling, and then all of a sudden they're walking, they're running. So you see, the progression. So as we're going over 50, we're progressing as well, but we're progressing into, older years. But it doesn't mean that we have to stop.
No.
We still have energy, we still have plenty of time. We can still enjoy life, we can still do our exercise, do our movement, but just making the little changes that we can bounce back, and we can recover, and we can still do the same thing tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we can, do our daily functional movements is really important, like in and out of a chair, that we're able to do that, in and out of the car, reaching up to the top press to take down that cup, whatever it may be, climbing up on a chair if you want to clean that top window, whatever it is, going up and down the stairs would be another big one. Walking the dog, that we're able to do all those things, and to move away from this kind of ageism. Whereas, yes, we know we're, every decade, every year we're getting a bit older, but it doesn't mean that we can't exercise and move and reap the benefits the same as everybody else.
Yeah. And also, the more women move and getting to movement and exercise, it's the less trips to the local GP and consultants.
Oh yes, because like you're in with cardiovascular movement, like you're walking, you're swimming, you're cycling, you're running, you're keeping the heart and lungs active, you're improving that body system, so you may not have as many visits to the GP. Also, we're staying stronger um by strengthening the core. We're going, strengthening the back, strengthening around the hip area. There's your longevity is much more it's increased much more. So you wouldn't be going to the doctor, well, hopefully, unless you had a major illness that needed to be maintained, or a chronic illness or a chronic injury. But you can still move, you can still bring in exercise, because it's so important no matter where you are, like that, wherever your body is, it's just so important.
So Tracy, you're from Waterford. You're based and living in between the beautiful scenic of between Limerick and Neenah in County Tipperary, and you have the beautiful studio behind you, but you also offer online classes.
Yeah, so I'm based in Ballina, County Tipperary, bordering the the banks of Lough Derg, with Killaloo, County Clare, just across the bridge. So we're really, really close community. I offer in-person classes locally and also online classes. So I teach Pilates online and I do some strength and conditioning online. So that means that, people from anywhere can join a class, no matter where you are in the country, even the world. I have, a lady from Germany that attends the class very regularly. I've got another lady from the States who would get the recordings. So it's very, very accessible. And also the classes are live. And if somebody misses a class, they would get a recording so that they can catch up on the class, which is really beneficial for people who are in really busy lives and they may not get to attend at a certain time, so and then I observe everybody. So I was asked one day, how do you see us? How do you see how can you spot if somebody is doing something, incorrectly or whatever? Don't worry, I see it.
The training.
So they're very, very effective. A lot of people get nervous of online classes, but when it's a live class and when you're being instructed there and then, they're really, really effective. And you can, and they're also time efficient. So if somebody doesn't have a lot of time, they're very time efficient and effective, because a class is starting at 8 o'clock and it'll be finished at 9. You don't have to drive anywhere. And also, if you need to be at home and you can't leave wherever you are at that moment in time, it's great because your class is there on your doorstep.
Yeah. And also
Yeah.
too, the great community, because you get to know the other people who's on the online classes, and that does become also an online community.
Yes, we do. Yeah, it does. We have a little chat, before the class, and we also have a little chat afterwards. I love seeing everyone's face on screen, and there's everyone smiling and everyone's really, really involved. It's not a matter of just turning up and leaving. There is that sense of community. And I was really surprised that the online classes would continue. But yeah, the online classes are thriving because it's just so effective for people, and they're also getting their workouts.
And also, too, if people who are online community, if someone hasn't been there for a week or a couple of weeks, people then say, "Oh, can you just check in with so and so and see if they're okay or if there's anything we can do?" So it is really lovely. And also, the great thing with being online and in person, if any travelers is traveling to Ireland, they get to know, oh, there's Tracy at the studio. She offers online and in person Pilates and strengthening and conditioning classes. You know what? I'm traveling through that area of Clare, Galway, Tipperary, Limerick, and okay, or North Kerry. I could pop up to Tracy in the studio for an in-person class as well. So
Yes, yeah, yeah, yeah. I love when someone contacts saying, "Oh, what have you got available? I'm visiting the area." And if I've space for them in an in-person class, and by all means they join, and also they can join online, and then when they return to wherever they live, that online connection is still there. So yeah, so I would be Tracy at the studio. That's where people would find me, and on Instagram and Facebook, just reaching out, sending me a message, and then I would just get back to you with the information, with times, etc. So it's as easy as that. Just looking up Tracy at the studio. Yeah, and you can't miss me with the red hair in the picture and the words in the back. So that's what you would see on Instagram.
and it's funny, Tracy, we met online, and then one day you were in Kilkenny with your mom who lives in Waterford.
Right.
Oh, Roisin, we were in I was in the
The
cafe. You
cafe. Yeah.
You can meet online and then you can meet in person, even just, oh, there you are, So
Yeah.
so you can make connections online and bring them in person as well and have that community.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Tracy, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about, movement and exercise for the over 55s, the 60s, 70s, and 80s and beyond, and the importance of it. You're going to be a regular now on Confident Women Ireland, and we're going to be doing something even online with our over 55 meetups as well. So
Yeah.
I will put all your contact details and social media links in the description box below. And maybe if anybody's watching this, they want to put in a question to Tracy, Tracy will see them and I can pass them on to her as well. Let's get moving, ladies. Let's get, what was it? Olivia John, you said, let's get physical. Do you remember that in the 80s?
Let's get physical. Yes. No, thanks so much, Roisin. And it was lovely just to chat. And also because I'm so passionate about women's health and movement and exercise and how important it is. So it was lovely just to chat and share. And yeah, anyone wants to send a message by all means. Yeah, I
Well,
look forward to the next session.
yes, I do too. Tracy, at the studios, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to Confident Women Ireland today.
Thanks, Roisin. Bye.
Bye.